Paige came up with a really great topic, and I'm very excited to dive into it. So I'm so excited.
We want to do a little segment that's kind of like the things that no one warned me about loving someone in prison, about the hardest parts of the sentence and everything that comes after it. And sometimes it feels like you're on a merry-go-round that just doesn't ever stop. This is even just more so for even maybe some of the wives or people listening who are new to this life. And, it's not meant to scare anyone or like deter anyone. It's just kind of us kind of telling our truth and, things that we might have wanted to know prior.
When I leave visit, I still post, there's pictures of me crying leaving visit a couple weeks ago. I still grieve the loss of having someone here with me. There's always reminders of that he's not here with me. I think the grief, it's in stages and it changes as you go along this journey. But just know if it hits you, it's normal. It's a normal thing.
The grief doesn't just stick because they're inside. It hits you more so when you leave and life keeps going. You mourn the things that never existed or never got to happen. Your imaginary futures that you create and play in your head. Even mundane fantasies like going to the grocery store or doing normal errands and things like that. It's like those things can be sad.
Mike and I would have just so much fun going to the freaking grocery store together. Like what an adventure that would be just for us. And I picture it in my brain and how much fun we'd have walking down the aisles, picking out stuff and planning dinners and things like that. And and then you realize, well, I may never actually get that.
This is for the prison wife. Still don't break, love don't fold. I'm still here, I'm still gold.
All right, so this will be the first time in 9 years since when Michael and I had our first contact visit. I visited with his family for the holidays back in 2016. And this is the first time in 9 years that not his best friend, AKA my sister-in-law, but his other brother is coming to visit him. So we're all going together next weekend for our family Christmas visit, our holiday visit, I should say. And I'm a little nervous because I haven't talked to his brother since right after that visit. Him and I obviously had some issues. And I'm a little nervous.
I didn't know you had issues.
Yes, we have not talked. Now, granted, life's changed, his life's changed. Can I tell you what the tea was with that?
I don't know if anyone else, because I think everyone else is probably like, what?
Yeah. So basically, he hit on me and wanted to go there all the way with me basically, and made comments saying that. And he was like, don't tell my brother. And I'm like, well, and I asked my other prison wife friends, and they were like, if they hear it from someone else and it's not you, he's going to be upset. Imagine how he would feel. So of course I'm like, yeah, you're right. I'd rather the news come from me than come from another source and him question me about it and be like, why didn't you come to me? So I went straight to him and I'm like, look, this is what your brother said to me. He wants to come over to my house. He wants to come down to see me. He talked about visiting me. He talked about doing things with me that made me feel kind of uncomfortable. This is your brother. It's not a friend. It's actually a blood relation. So I was a little weirded out. I'll be honest. It made me uncomfortable, especially because I just met him. I had just met him. And so Mike wrote him this long letter, this is my wife. It would be the same on the street as it is right now. You don't do that. So then his brother got very upset with me because I told Michael and blamed it on, I was drinking and, I was just drunk. So I said things and I'm like, no, dude, we've had multiple conversations where you made me feel very uncomfortable. So it's not just a one-time thing. So him and Mike had a thing, but now they talk, which is great, which I encourage him to talk. I have not befriended him. I know he's remarried. He has a whole new life and he's moved to Michigan. And so he's coming down for the holidays. I just haven't seen him or talked to him since that fight. So I don't know And since Mike said something to him, I haven't talked to him, me personally. Mike has, obviously. They're good. So I told Mike, I expressed last weekend when I went to visit that I was nervous. Like, I was very nervous about it because I haven't talked to him and I haven't had any interaction. So it's just going to be weird because we're going to be stuck in the same room for hours, and I guess, time heals things, right? So, but it's just it makes me anxious,
That would be a game for me to be like, who can act the less bothered and who can act like the most nonchalant. Like, you know what I mean? I would make it a game. Be like, yeah, no, what? Like, I'm good. You good? Like,
Okay. So good. That's good advice.
do that.
I'm definitely going to do that because I don't want it to be
Yeah.
weird. I don't want it to be bad. I want to be cool because this is Michael's family, first of all. And, it's a special visit for him. And I'm not trying to sit here, ruin and bring up old stuff. It just makes me a little nervous, but I definitely think acting like nothing ever happened and like I'm totally chill and cool, even though deep down I probably will be in the moment, but I guess just, me, I overthink everything and I start thinking about like what's, all the things. So, but yeah, it's just, I'm just going to treat it like another visit.
It'll go
That's good
well.
advice.
I know it'll be fine.
Yeah. So,
Exciting.
yes. Well, hello, everybody. Sorry for my little bit of a hoarse voice. My allergies are kicking my ass. I'm not used to this cold, up and down cold weather. One day it's like 50 degrees. The next day it's like 75. So I'm not used to it. So my voice is a little raspy. Maybe it's a little sexy.
It's freaking cold here. I hate it.
Yeah, it's going to get cold tomorrow for us. We're going to have it's going to be like high of 48 degrees, which is probably summer for y'all, but it's like for us, that's like polar ice. Like,
That's so funny. I wish. God, I wish. It's like, I hate the mornings where you have to wake up and like, you have to like defrost your car.
yeah. Yeah, y'all have a lot of work to do. See, for us, it's like we get snow and everything just shuts down because we don't even have the equipment to handle it. So it's like everybody just stay inside. But y'all still have to go to work and shit.
That's where I belong. So, damn.
Well, hello, Wallers. It's episode 78. God, bitch, we're almost at 80. Holy shit. Okay, sorry, I'm cussing before the 10-minute mark, but still, just saying. Yeah, I mean, how could you not cuss for that? Anyway, welcome to Love Within Walls, a Prison Wife podcast, the one and only Prison Wife podcast. I'm being cocky again. It's your friendly host, Gigi here, and I'm here with my beautiful co-host.
Your friendly host, Paige. Hello, friends.
Yeah. Hey, y'all. Welcome. We have a really, Paige came up with a really great topic for today's pod. I'm very excited. Next week, we actually do start our Prison Wife storytelling series for the holidays. So, but Paige came up with a really great topic and I'm very excited to dive into it. So before we start though, we have to start off with our sponsor. I'm going to try and do this without cracking. Beyond Bars Imaging. Hey guys, it's holiday time. It's New Year's time. It's almost Valentine's time. It's time to get your photos done by Paige. You need to reach out to her at Beyond Bars Imaging on Facebook and Instagram. Slide on into her DMs. She can make anything happen in your pictures. You have a regular visit picture and you want to make it totally something else, she can make that happen. You have pictures of people that are in separate places that can't visit. You want them all together in a family photo. She can also make that happen. So slide on in to those DMs at Beyond Bars Imaging. All right, Paige, are we ready to get the party started? Okay, here we go. Oh, what up with that? What up with that? All right, it is time for the one, the only, what up with that legislation. Paige, Do you have anything?
I do. My first story is out of Texas. This is from The Guardian, which is a great resource. Human trafficking behind prison walls. Women jailed in Texas allege rampant sexual abuse. Woman in FMC Carswell, long a focus of sexual abuse investigations, says prison officials who have turned a blind eye repetitively. 11 women incarcerated at a federal prison in Texas allege that they have been subjected to rampant sexual abuse by staff members in the past 7 years. The allegations are the latest accusations of abuse within a federal prison system with claims of inhumane conditions. The allegations at FMC Carswell, which is a federal medical women's prison in Fort Worth, Texas, are particularly troubling because the facility has been the focus of a sexual abuse investigation for years, with 13 staff members convicted of abuse and misconduct since 1997 and promises of reform various times. Now, 11 women have filed fresh lawsuits alleging that they have been sexually assaulted by prison staff in the recent years. The lawsuits have been filed since May 1st in Federal District of Columbia Court with the list Beth Reese, the Chief of Office of International Affairs for the BOP in the United States, as defendants. The suits each lodged 10 civil claims against the U.S., including negligent sexual battery and trafficking of victims. Over the past few months, The Guardian spoke with 6 women that are a part of this abuse case, and they say that they were sexually assaulted, and that it's a very common thing that happens at this facility. It's an issue that they said that it's a very wide known issue that staff know about, and the blind eye has continuously been turned here. So, it doesn't really matter if you're coming into a system and you're guilty or you're innocent. No one deserves to be treated like this when you're being held federally. And it's a national problem within our prisons, and especially within these female prisons, and the fact that this is continuously happening at this specific facility is beyond unacceptable. And I really hope that something comes out of this quickly, and then I hope that they either shut it down or do something to actually reform this facility, because it really just sounds like it shouldn't, like it sounds like it should be the set of a horror film.
Yeah, I was about to say, my heart hurts because these are women who are already medically vulnerable, because you said it was a special medical facility. So these women are already medically vulnerable, already experienced probably trauma in their life outside of prison. And they are now experiencing levels of trauma that are ridiculous in a system where they are being preyed upon. And listen, I understand people break the law and they deserve, a crime or a consequence to their crime. But at the same time, if you say that they deserve this, shame on you. Shame on you, because there are people out there that will sit there and be absolutely horribly disgusting and say, well, they deserve it. They broke the law. No woman. And if you're going to sit here as a man, and I'm sorry, I'm hating on men today. If you're going to sit here as a man and say that women in prison deserve to be sexually assaulted, I hope and pray you don't have women in your family or daughters. Sorry. That's just me.
I'm going to say that to anyone, any male, female, non-binary, anyone who holds that thought in their head, you really need to seek help, because no one deserves these conditions.
Correct. Well, prayers for them and their families, because hopefully, and what really ticks me off about this is that we have a federal system that's supposed to be like top tier or whatever, but yet you have countless amounts of people, and you said since 1997. That's like almost 30 years ago that all of this sexual shit has been happening. That's disgusting. Get new staff. Hire new people. Hold people fucking accountable, BOP. Sorry, I get spicy. All right. I have something from the New York Times. It says there are only two real ways to leave prison early: parole, which is a complex and often out of reach, system, and clemency, a rare act of mercy granted solely by a governor. In a recent New York Times opinion video, filmmaker Matt Nadell explains how clemency has nearly disappeared. After researching New York State archives, he found that grants dropped from hundreds per year in the 1980s to just single digits today, even as the prison population grew. Nadal points to the tough on crime era and political fear driven by a few high-profile cases, but he argues those fears shouldn't justify shutting down an entire system of mercy, one that, for many incarcerated people, remains their last hope. So basically, this is from, he's trying to get, I guess, he's making a movie about clemency to help bring awareness to the idea of how clemency is very limited, very not used by a lot of governors, only for their friends who are incarcerated in their white collar crimes, and how difficult clemency is to achieve. Like in Louisiana, you have to have a 5 out of 5 to get clemency on the board. Like all 5 have to agree. And then the governor has to sign it. So if the governor never signs it, you can just still sit in prison, even though you've gotten clemency or a recommendation of clemency. So the fact that governors are not using their powers to seek clemency or give clemency to people, this documentary filmmaker, and he's a co-founder of the Advocacy Video Project. He is starting to produce a documentary about clemency and the process and why it's not being given and why governors just sit idly by with clemency forms on their desk and don't even look at it. I mean, I was just astonished that I was told, like an example out of Louisiana. John Bell Edwards, who was a proponent of criminal justice reform, had a stack of like 175 clemency recommendations. He didn't even, I was told he's going to sign all of them. Well, he didn't before he left office. And now we have the horrible man who probably will only do his friends. You know what I mean? So, or give clemency to his people. So, anybody of a different race or, of lower socioeconomic status that committed a crime, he's not going to grant clemency to them. So it should be interesting to see this video come out or this movie come out about the clemency process and how it's not being utilized as much as it was in like the 80s and 90s. So
yeah, I'd be interested to see that. Mm-hmm. The next story I have is activists are sounding the alarm at conditions at a Baltimore youth detention center. Over 6 children were left to sleep in the cold for over a week at the Baltimore Youth Detention Center, according to the Maryland Office for Public Defender. Maryland Public Defender Natasha Dartigue said that not only in the detention center extremely overcrowded, but there's also now no heat. For over a week, 63 children slept in dormitories where the indoor temperatures averaged between 55 degrees and 60 degrees. And outside, we know at night it was falling to an average of 24 degrees. These are kids. Okay, these are youth. This is a youth center. The Maryland Department of Public Safety and Correctional Services responded to the claims, saying that those at the youth detention center have not experienced any medical issues related to the temperatures and that staff are doing hourly temperature checks while the department heating system is under repair.
can I just say 2 words? I think you find these stories to make me very angry.
I find the ones that piss me off that I want to amplify. Because I'm just like, what are you talking about?
Can I just say this to the Baltimore whatever Department of Corrections?
Yeah.
Fuck you, like a big fuck you. They're. I feel like women are being preyed upon in the federal system, and now you have you're freezing children.
Well, no one's reported any issues, so it's fine, right? And they're doing temperature checks regularly. Okay, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, right. My ass, they're doing temperature check
and
this ass.
Get the
bitch.
fuck out of here when you guys have
mean?
people. You're finding people dead in their cells. You're not checking shit. Anyways,
Yeah.
From the immediate start, this is their quote, our focus has been maintaining a safe, stable condition while moving as quickly as legally and logistically possible to complete this repair, says the Secretary Carolyn Scruggs. She also said, I am grateful to the staff who continue to work around the clock to secure needed equipment, keep programming running, and make sure that the young people in our care remain safe and supported. The Maryland DPSCS officials added that the heating system in the detention center is being repaired and industrial-grade electric space heaters have been secured. They added that the heaters will remain in operation until the permanent repair is made at the facility's heating system. Answer questions later, say sorry later, but solve the problem. Maryland State support Representative Kaylin Young said, don't let these children exist and live in the cold. Like, we don't
Yes.
want to hear
Yes.
your bullshit. Like your blah blah blah. How fast would that shit be fixed in like a normal person's house? Or like, you know what I mean? Like, these people are being federally held in a facility. They don't have an option to leave. It's your job to take care of them.
Yeah. Not give them medical conditions and
Yes.
hypothermia and kill them and
Yeah,
freeze them. to
God
death.
forbid. Like,
First
they're
of
like,
all-
yeah, no one's sick yet. Thank God. What the fuck? It's fucking 20 degrees
Yeah.
outside. We're about to get a snowstorm.
Y'all, it's 2025. We have all kind of technology and heating systems. Like, your excuse of there's temperature checks. Nobody's died yet. We're okay. Is not valid anymore. That's null and void. These are actual babies we're talking about. These are babies. And you know, you can go, oh, well, they might be 15 or 16. They're still
The majority
children.
of who were probably born into situations that they didn't really have, you know, ending up in a detention center was kind of just bound to happen, unfortunately.
Correct. And these people did not pick their situation to live. They did not pick their parents.
No.
They did not pick what happened to them. You know, they might be results of situations that, you know, just they need to survive. And I'm not making excuses for crime, but you also have to understand, you sit up here in your high tower of glass and you look down on people and you have no clue what it's like to go without food, to go without a place to live, to go without electricity or water. You have no understanding
Watch your
of that.
family,
And until
like to
you
watch
do,
your family have no food, and then have siblings that you don't, you know what I mean? Like they make
Yeah.
decisions that they have to make to survive, and then sometimes they'll get in trouble or make a bad decision. Their kids, their brains aren't developed. You know what I mean? It's just not right.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. And it's one thing to say, okay, these are grown men, you know, like we're doing the best we can, but these are actually actual babies, and I will never not defend a child ever. So, yeah. I have one out from the Marshall Project, moving from children to the food on your table. They put out an article in early November about the food that you eat brought to you by prison labor. Incarcerated workers help produce some of America's most popular food brands, but they only get very few benefits and protections afforded to others. For example, if you're like me and you've shopped at Walmart, Target, Costco, Whole Foods, and many other large grocery chains recently, there's a chance that you purchased food produced by prison labor. This is according to a years-long investigation published by the Associated Press. Beef, soybeans, corn, wheat are just some of the products that have found their way into consumer markets from prison farms and barns. While a 1935 law makes it illegal to transport goods made by convict labor across state lines, an exemption exists for agricultural commodities that today amounts to hundreds of millions of dollars of commerce, according to the Associated Press reporting. So, guys, if you're interested in that article, it is from the Marshall Project, a great resource for those that are into advocacy and prison reform and prison life. But just interesting to know that if you grow farms in your states, and like for example, Angola is a huge farm. They harvest soybeans, broccoli, greens, cattle, all things. It's an 18,000 acre farm. It's interesting to know what's coming from there to my dinner table. So, and the fact that they ship to, I guess, local major chains of groceries. So, did you have anything else, Paige? Okay, I have one more. It was very interesting, and I wanted to talk about it because it is something that's real for a lot of us. It was about how. Okay, I had something from the Marshall Project again. I guess it was something about sepsis, but I can't find it, so I'm just going to do this one. The Marshall Project found. Oh, did I do this? I did this one already. Never mind. I'm sorry. It was about how sepsis can be like something that's easily treatable. But, oh, here it is. This is from USA Today, Austin Fast. Sepsis, in our case, is something that is very treatable. It's easy to fix. However, in jails and prisons for inmates or incarcerated people, it's often a death sentence. Locked in a segregation cell at a county jail in Oklahoma, Terrell Ellis Jr. begged for his inhaler, his voice raspy and desperate. "I think I'm dying," the 26-year-old father pleaded through the door. Surveillance camera footage shows the jail's nurse sauntered over to his cell, clearly exasperated. "There ain't a damn fucking thing wrong with you," she snapped, and slammed the door shut. And then somebody else said, "Oh, he's crying wolf." Well, unfortunately, this man passed away. And it's just, this article goes into detail about the fact that little things, inhalers, sepsis, all of these things are easily treatable out here, but yet in prison, they're not taken seriously, or people's requests are ignored. Medical requests are ignored, and it often leads to a fatality. Whereas this man was asking for an inhaler, which obviously he's used to having, and the nurse just saying, "There ain't a damn fucking thing wrong with you," and walking off. And later on, he dies. That woman should be in jail herself. And the fact that these incarcerated people, first of all, you don't know if you're septic until sometimes it's too late. So sometimes it's beyond what anybody can do. And we already know in prisons, the medical treatments they have are very minimal. They're not equipped to deal with anything like this. But sepsis can go undetected for a while. And once you can just die in your bed and nobody knows, So little things like this, whether it's an inhaler or sepsis, can be the difference between life and death in prison. And people don't seem to realize that until it's too late. So, sorry, that was I wish I had better ones, but yeah.
It's important.
Yeah, it is. All right, Paige, are we ready to get into our main card? I'm so excited.
You want me to?
Yes.
All right, you guys. So, although we're getting close to like the segments of where we're gonna interview and talk with other prison wives, we're trying to think of something that's kind of holiday, kind of not holiday, because we're gonna get a lot of holiday stuff. But we might have tapped into some of these things that we're going to talk about, but we want to do a little segment that's kind of like the things that no one warned me about loving someone in prison. You know what I mean? Like about the hardest parts of the sentence and everything that comes after it, and how, it's just kind of, sometimes it feels like you're on a merry-go-round that just doesn't ever stop. And it's just, this is even just so more so for even maybe some of the wives or people listening who are new to this life. And, it's not meant to scare anyone or like deter anyone. It's just kind of us kind of telling our truth and, things that we might have wanted to know prior.
Mm-hmm.
So the first talking point that I have here is that grief does not happen all at once. There's delayed grief that will literally creep in whenever it wants to. Like, I mean, you guys hear us talk about it here. Um, of course, there's many people who have been on journeys with their loved ones through, getting charged and going to court and like going through that entire process. And I'm sure that is different levels of grieving losing them. But then, of course, when they go into the system and then they're gone, you have to kind of process all of that. And then, then you visit them and it feels like your brain's like, this is kind of normal. And then you leave again and you're like, wait, like even my family visits, like I very much know Joseph is in prison, but my brain, when I have to leave, I'm like, but my brain doesn't understand why I can't have him beside me and cuddle him every night. You know what I mean? And it's not
Yeah.
meant to sound goofy because clearly I know that he's in prison for a reason and he's serving time, but it's like, it's a thing that never gets easier. Even if, you try to twist and turn it different ways, it's still your person that is there that you have to leave there, and it hurts.
Yeah. I was going to say for MWIs, and I don't know if this was the same for you, but like when you don't hit, grief does not hit you at first because you're so in the honeymoon phase when you meet your person. I mean, I don't think the grief truly hit me until probably 6 months once Michael and I started from talking to being together. Because I was interested in getting to know him, and it was like we were dating on the phone, and I was learning all these wonderful things about him, and we'd had so much to talk about. I mean, we still do, but we were just learning about each other, and it was that honeymoon phase. And then once the anniversary, which was January 7th of his crime happened, the grief hit. I feel like for MWI couples, it doesn't hit right away because you're excited to get to know this person, and then it comes later. And I will say, over time, you learn how to get through it and you accept the way things are. But I'm not going to say my grief journey is completely over because when I leave visit, I mean, I still post, there's pictures of me crying leaving visit a couple weeks ago, so I still grieve the loss of having someone here with me. And there's always reminders of that he's not here with me. And so I think the grief, it's in stages and it changes, as you go along this journey. But just know if it hits you, it's normal. It's a normal thing. You have to, you're going from used to being with people here with you outside, and now you're living this whole different lifestyle. So you're mourning the loss of having that person here with you.
Yeah, the one thing it said on here, it's like the grief doesn't just like stick because they're inside. It hits you more so when you leave and life keeps going and they're not here. And you just like have to keep moving and keep pushing and act like everything is like dandy and you're good and you're a strong woman and you got this and I got it for my man, you know what I mean? And it's like sometimes you'll just have those moments when you're like, holy shit.
Yeah. And you feel like you hit rock bottom, and you feel like you don't want to get out of bed, and you feel like, you don't want to talk to anybody. You don't even want to talk. Like there were times where I didn't even want to talk to Michael. Like I was just so depressed and feeling that feeling of being alone. Like I'm going to be laying in my bed alone for the rest of my life. Like, that's a lot to process. So yeah. And it can come out of nowhere. Like you could be fine, and then all of a sudden you start thinking about it and boom, you're in this funk,
the next like talking point of this kind of merges into that. It talks about how you mourn the things that never existed or never got to happen. So it's like, your imaginary futures that you create and play in your head. There are awesome ways of coping and getting through these situations. But I'm not going to lie, there's sometimes when Joseph and I talk about it, like as it's a real thing, and then like I'll sit and process it and just get really sad because I'm like, but I want to go and do those things. And like, you can't, you know what I mean? Or like, I want to go do this when I turned, 35 or something. And it's like, no, like I can dream about that, but you know what I mean? Like, even mundane fantasies like going to the grocery store or doing normal errands and things like that. It's like those things can be sad.
Yeah, Definitely. I thought about like Mike and I would have just so much fun going to the freaking
Mm-hmm.
grocery store together. Like what an adventure that would be just for us. And I picture it in my brain and how much fun we'd have walking down the aisles, picking out stuff and planning dinners and things like that. And but and then you realize, well, I may never actually get that. I do the same, and I don't know if anybody else does this, but I do the
Mm-hmm.
same with, I mean, having my husband in an intimate way. Like I'll never, I don't want to say it, but I mean, it's true. Like I may never ever get to make love to my husband,
Mm-hmm.
and I have to mourn the loss of that. And I have to, granted, we have other ways, but to stay connected intimately, and we've mastered that, I feel like, and it does something for me. It does. But, just having a physically intimate relationship is something that we will most likely never have. And that's a huge pill
And
to
it's
swallow.
I feel like it's one a lot of women don't really think about until like they're maybe like past the honeymoon stage because you're like, oh, it's all good or whatever, you know what I mean? But then like when you're really
Yeah.
in it for this period of time, it's like, damn, like especially when you've never experienced long distance relationships or not having your person like right here, it's just like, what do you mean? It's a lot.
Yeah. It's a lot to process for sure. Or if you've had it,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I feel bad for the people that have had it, like MBIs who have been with their loved one on the outside, and then their husband gets a life sentence and they don't have family visits in their state. So now it's like, I know I got a taste of it, I know what it's like, but now I'll never have it again. That's probably also a very hard pill to swallow.
That would suck because it's like I mean, like I mean, it's kind of like, we have our family visits, so I know what it's like to be with him like that, but like even to the extent like
Hmm.
I don't know what it's like to be in the free world with Joseph. I have no idea because I've never done it. So
Yeah.
like that's even a whole
Yeah.
nother box of worms that, my heart goes out to anyone who is MBI or, had to go through that because that would be like a whole nother different pain for your brain to sit with, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, to have that, to know what it's like and never have that
Hmm.
again, or not never have an opportunity to
And it,
have
of
that
course,
again.
we sit here on the pod and we talk about all the time that, like, you can't think like that because you really can't. Like,
Right.
you really can't in this world. And people might say that that's us just being hopelessly optimistic or being delusional or whatever. But we're gonna cope and grieve and deal with this the way that helps us, and it shouldn't really affect anyone. Um,
Yeah.
you do what you have to do in this world, you know?
Amen. Sometimes being Delulu
Yeah.
is the Salulu. You
It's
know
like
what I mean?
my
So
life should not matter to you.
yeah, and the way, and listen, people need to understand that not everybody copes with things the same manner and the same way. So, like, people think that everybody should be in this box and everybody should do the exact same thing and respond the way they should and what way they think is right. But it's
There's
not. Like, sometimes we have to imagine and believe and bring out these imaginations and fantasies in our brain to help us keep
and help
going.
them. You know what I
You know what
mean?
I mean?
It helps them
And
too.
help
And it's like,
them. Yeah.
they might get that future or get that second chance. And why wouldn't you want them to come out with like an optimistic, positive mindset rather than a
Yeah.
bad place? Like that's what reform is all about.
Amen.
So, number 3 is you become emotionally multilingual because you have no other option than to become extremely communicationally intelligent because even if you don't want to be, because your girl over here, I hate
Agree.
talking about my feelings out loud. Sometimes I'm good at typing my feelings, but I'm not very good at expressing them like verbally until I've thought about them. And being in this
Hmm.
relationship with Joseph, I think really got made me figure out ways to communicate because prior to that I was in a relationship where I we didn't communicate and I would just revert to like my childhood way of closing myself in my room and locking myself away and not talking to anyone because that's how I coped. You know what I mean? like that was just
Me too.
easier, and that way, and then eventually like we would talk, but nothing would really be resolved. And especially these relationships, that's just not how it goes. Like you're gonna talk about it and you're gonna work through it, and you probably won't deal with it again because you know it is a healthy relationship, and you get to learn how to read each other through phone calls, through letters, through messaging. And it's hard at first, but it takes time, and I think it's helped me and been beneficial for me in all my relationships because it's made me a better communicator and
Wow.
made me be more present and made me be more aware of listening to understand rather than listening to respond.
Same girl, same. I mean, everything that you said is basically me and my previous relationship. I mean, we would just sweep things under the rug and pretend like it never happened. Nothing would ever be discussed. And if I did bring it up again, I was
Hmm.
treated like I was the shittiest person, the stupidest bitch on earth. And how could you're so stupid? You're like the R word, like that's the
Hmm.
things I would get. So I think this life has taught me A, how to communicate, how to express how I'm feeling a lot better, how to also be more careful about what I put out there, what I say. Because sometimes, I get hot and I just start blah, 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 and I get spicy. And sometimes I say things and I'm like, okay, wait, backpedal, backpedal. I also think it's made me emotionally aware of people who are not the same as
Hmm.
me. It's really opened my eyes. We just talked about how people cope differently. I've learned a lot because a lot of these women don't cope
Hmm.
the same way. A lot of these families don't cope the same way. Everybody has a different system that works for them, and
Hmm.
that's okay. And I've learned to respect everybody's emotional boundaries, emotional needs, and recognize them. Because before you live in a world where you're just like this all the time, like this, on your phone, and you're not really paying attention to people. This relationship forces you to pay attention
Hmm.
to people because you have nothing else other than communication, listening, understanding, and watching and being observant, or just paying attention to the way they say things or the way they talk about their day and things like that. Like it really makes you more emotionally
I
aware.
really like this one quote that it said. It says, "You learn how to speak hope without lying and honesty without breaking someone."
Wow,
Right? And
that's
that's so
powerful.
true because it's like it's
It's
helped
so
me
true.
be a better friend, helped me be a better mom, helped me be like, just because like, I don't think people really realize how, I would even think before I talked to Joe, I'd be like, yeah, no, I'm a good communicator. I know how to do those things, but like I'm a completely different person than that 5 years ago.
Yeah. It's crazy how a prison relationship in the end makes you a more well-rounded, better person. Because people think
Yeah.
the opposite. You
That's
know what I mean? The stereotypes all show the
That's because the
opposite.
stereotypes are loud, and people love to hate
Mhm.
watch. So like they love to watch the loud train wrecks because it's entertainment and it's not them. And like our relationships aren't going to be as interesting because we don't have like tea or drama, and it's not as interesting to watch
Mhm.
like a happy story that might not end happy because like we sit on here and talk every day, but at the end of the day, if the world had its way, both of our husbands would be in prison for life, you know but yes,
Or dead.
but
Yeah.
we still choose to show up here and be positive, you know and I feel like that says a lot.
Yeah.
I love
Oh, I love
you.
you. Just want to say that. Okay.
You learn the difference between loyalty and self-abandonment.
Okay.
I
Can you?
agree with that because boundaries does not
Oh, yeah.
equal
Yeah.
betraying yourself. I think
I
a
agree.
lot of times, like my whole life, especially all y'all who are people pleasers, I know y'all are listen up. You're because you get it. Like your whole life, you just walk on eggshells or bend and break to make other people happy, and it's like you don't realize you're betraying your own boundaries the whole time that you're doing that. Like you're not
Yeah.
honoring or taking care of yourself. And I think not even just prison wives, it's especially women in general, like, are so easy to want to help and take care of other people that we put our boundaries on the back burner.
Yeah, as natural nurturers, we tend to do that. And I was gonna say, I mean, boundaries are becoming a thing, and I'm glad it is, because I think any relationship you have to establish boundaries for yourself, and healthy boundaries. And it tells you also who's in your corner and who respects you and who is, emotionally there to support you. Like if Paige is like, I can't do this, I can't do that. I'm like, okay, I get it. Like, got you. You do you, I'm here if you need me, and so I think in a prison relationship, boundaries, I mean, every relationship boundaries are important, but I also think in prison relationships it's exceptionally important, because it can get, like we always say, you can start giving so much of yourself that you're not taking care of you and your family out here. You're more worried about your incarcerated person. And so, you know, having that is something important, just because it's healthy for you as a supporter, as a family member of someone who is
And
incarcerated.
especially in these relationships, I think love without boundaries is just a breeding ground for resentment. You are going to just build and fester these feelings where, the person might not even know that you have these feelings, because you are trying to be this people pleaser and not asserting your boundaries and letting people walk all over you. And then your loved one might not even know that you're at this point because you're bending for them. So it's like, early on you think you know what love means, and it's sacrificing everything and helping everyone, and it's not what it is, because someone who loves you is going to always honor your boundaries. You're going to honor their boundaries, and it's not going to be a tug of war. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean that just because in some situations you're going to choose yourself over them, that you're choosing that yourself over them. It's your job to advocate for yourself as much as you advocate for them. And I'm speaking this out loud and to myself, because I am fabulous at advocating for other people, and I am terrible at advocating for myself. And that's one thing I really want to work on, because I think that we have a podcast where we sit up here and say that all the time, and then here I am, like, where I don't advocate for myself. So do it, girl.
But you do sometimes when you say I can't do this, like I just can't, like I need some time or whatever. Like, I feel like you do advocate for yourself. I think, could you do it more?
Yeah.
I'm sure. Could you not? I think, but as a female, I think we always like, you know, put that in the back. You know what I mean? Like we worry about everybody else, but like you said, we don't worry about ourselves as much. Yeah.
One big thing about these relationships and being in a prison relationship is you're going to realize that people are going to project their fears onto you. Okay. You're going to come across many prison wives who have had terrible situations with their loved one coming home and completely destroying them. And I'll be real over here. Unfortunately, like 8 times out of 10, that is what it is. But that's why you need to know the person that you're dealing with. There's going to be people that not even are ex-prison wives, but people who are just haters, who aren't going to want to see you happy. You know what I mean? You have to be able to look at them for what's going on and realize that they're projecting, and it's not an actual thing. Like, you know what I mean? Because often, a lot of times when people say things like, oh, I could never do that, it usually means I'm afraid to imagine it. Or I could never,
Yeah.
like, you know what I mean? It's not so much an insult as it is them projecting. And I honestly think that, I will say, and we say this on all the pods, there are bad people in prison. I'm not saying that everyone in prison is Joseph or Michael, because we know that they aren't. But, you can't just label all men in prison as terrible people.
Yeah. Yeah. I've actually, TBH, for those people that will say that, I've met better people in prison. Like, I've met really good people, men and women, that came out of prison versus people out here
Oh
on the
yeah.
street. I mean, some of the people out here are freaking terrible and they should be in prison and they're not. So let's be real. There are actually some amazing people in prison. Yes, they may have done something terrible. Yes, they may have made a really bad choice or chose to do the wrong thing. I'm not taking away whatever they did to get there. I'm just saying that's not all who they are, and that there are some really amazing people who have like given their life to Christ and transform their entire life, but that won't get looked at because all they're going to see is criminal. You know what I mean?
It's literally learning how to like internalize other people's discomfort.
Yeah. And when people tell me, because I get people like coworkers and stuff like that, I could never
Good for
do
you,
that.
babe.
It's
No
like,
one
well,
asked.
hey, yeah, like God picks his strongest warriors to do his battles. Like, come on. Like, I don't sit here and go, well, I could never be married again.
Right?
God,
Like when someone tells you they're getting married
like,
again, you know what I mean? Like, is that your reaction? Like,
yeah,
it's weirdo. It's weirdo energy.
no. Yeah. It gives weird vibes. And, I've dealt with it. So I just learned to kind of just turn it, flip it on its head and throw it back at him. Like, well, God picks his strongest warriors. Here I am. I'm a badass bitch. What you gonna do? Clearly you aren't.
Literally, because most of the judgment isn't even about like your relationship. It's literally about their fears. And at the end of the day, exactly, a lot of the people like who have these fears and will vocalize them to us, like I would challenge you guys to be like, well, you know me, and you know where my head's at and who I am. So can't you take that for what it is and honor that?
Yep. Yep. 100.
Okay, I got two more. So
Okay.
you actually learn how to carry hope differently when you are in these relationships, and you absolutely have to. It's disciplined hope, though. You know what I mean? It's not the constant Pollyanna, the constant optimism, the constant, oh, he's coming home. He is coming. Like, you know what? It's not doing that, because that's not really helping anyone, I don't think. You know what I mean? It's the days where hope means showing up when you don't want to. You know what I mean? It's the days when you just want to lay in bed and cry, but you get up and you get on with your day, you know?
Yeah.
It's, hope becomes quieter to some people and less performative or, outwardly, but it's still there and it's still consistent and it's still disciplined, I think.
Yeah. And listen, sometimes I want to, believe me, I was that chick that at first wanted to believe all the wonderful things were going to happen for Michael. Like, because you walk in and I was the most naive prison wife ever. I had never had any experience with any prisons. I had never been with anybody in prison. So I was walking in pretty naive to a lot of the stuff. And I was that Pollyanna bitch at first. And then it hit me. And then I fell and I tanked. And then I got into substance abuse to cope. So I went from up here all the way for rock.
You went to
bottom.
Hope is a woman's name.
Yeah. Hope is just another woman's name, bitch. Don't tell me
Most
about
iconic response I've ever got in my life. I'm not gonna lie. Wait, that was before ChatGPT.
And that was before, that was back in like 2023, bitch. Before AI hit the Google sphere or whatever. So I've been there. I've been in every situation, and I've now gathered what I call realistic hope. And I think that's my healthy boundary when it comes to hope, because you have to learn how to hope differently. Do I hope Michael ever gets out of prison? Of course I do. Do I think it's going to really happen? Probably not. But I have a little hope there, but I don't put all of my eggs in that basket, if that makes sense. You learn to put your hope in more realistic things. Do I hope that one day Michael can get off death row and get a life sentence? Yes. And that is something that is realistic, So, and that way he'll have more opportunities to do more things, and be even more of a model incarcerated person. So, It's all about finding the hope that's realistic for you. And sometimes, I'll be honest, prison wives, if you're new to this journey, it can be a process, and you have to be gentle with yourself. Because yes, you want to hope that things overturn and laws change, but as we've seen, like, sometimes things don't change in the right direction. And so you kind of have to just give yourself grace and give yourself hope in the things, maybe even if it's short term or if it's little hopes. That's what I like to call it, but realistic hope at the end of the day.
Yes. The last point that I wanted to touch on here was you will learn that you are a changed person, and you'll learn that that changed person, it's not a tragedy that you're changed. It's not a tragedy that you are a changed woman and a changed prison wife or mom or whatever, however you are related to someone in prison. It's growth without glamorizing it. You know what I mean? You don't have to go back to the person you were, or, you don't you learn that you are this person who actually had strengths that you didn't know that you had, and you're able to show up for yourself and be strong on days where you didn't think you could. Like, I think about like some of the trips that I've taken by myself and like how sick I've gotten on them, and like I remember like the panic attacks I've had, and like in the moment being like, I can't ever get through this, and somehow I always do. And you know
Yeah.
it doesn't mean that you're grateful for the pain and everything that you've gone through to get to this point, but you can look at it and kind of like honor yourself rather than make it like a sad thing.
Yeah. I love that. And I think, people don't give themselves enough credit, because I will say that this life, I will say, like, I feel like I'm living two lives. I've lived two lives. I really do. I call my life before Michael my old life. I had friends. I had a husband. I had all of these wonderful things that everybody would deem as me being successful. But I didn't have myself. I was lost. I walked through life with zero purpose. And I always, when I talked to God, and I would always, me and God would just have open conversation. I'd be like, God, what's my purpose? Like, I feel like I have no purpose. Like, I'm just walking around, meet with eyes. Like, here I am. And then here I am now. I am completely evolved. I am no longer, yes, I'm still me. I'm still Gigi. I'm still funny. I'm still goofy. I still do stupid shit. I still talk my shit sometimes. But I'm evolved. I'm definitely an evolved person. I feel like I'm more well-rounded, and I feel like that version of me, I look back and I'm like, what the fuck were you doing? And you would think it'd be the opposite, because I'm with a guy who's on death row, who's been on death row for almost 27 years at this point. Like, you would be like, wait, you should be saying that now. And I'm like, no, that was my life before. I was a shell. And here I am, this vibrant, wholesome human being. I feel whole. I feel complete. I feel, yes, I don't have a lot of things in my relationship. Yes, that's the obvious. But inside, I feel full. I feel complete. I feel I have a purpose in life, And that's a beautiful thing. And so I look at my old life like that was my past life, and that person is no longer the same person in certain aspects, I guess.
I like this one.
Would you say the same? Would you say the same
Yeah,
about
I've
yourself,
totally
Paige?
changed as a person for the
Okay.
better. And I wouldn't have thought that this journey would make me change like as a person for the better, but it's made me more kind, more empathetic, more understanding. I've proven to myself that I'm stronger in ways that I didn't know I was, and that like physically and mentally. And I've been able to like deal with things that I would have never thought that I could deal with, regarding like hate and other things that I get on a regular basis. And like little Paige would look at the shit that I deal with and be like, "Oh my God, how do you do that?" Like, because I like things that would totally have tore me down, especially when I was younger. But I like this
Yeah.
one quote. It says, "I wouldn't choose this, but I can respect who it made me become."
Oh, yes. Put that on a
Literally.
plaque. We need JD Power and Associates to give us a freaking trophy or a plaque with that on it. I
Right? It's
swear to
like,
God.
because a lot of people are like, you
Yeah.
did choose this. And, in some crazy way, I'll let you guys sit with that narrative. Yes, we did write to someone who was incarcerated. There are some people that might go into it and be like, oh, this is my mission. I know a lot of women that it wasn't. Whether you want to say it was or not, it wasn't. But one way or another, you fell in love and you're here where you are. And it might not have been what you wanted or your picture perfect relationship, your family's, but like it made you into this person that is someone that you can admire.
Yeah.
Look at us.
Look at us. Look at us. Just,
I love that.
that.
Me too.
I really do.
It had a question here for our viewers. So if you guys want to, in the comments, I want to hear you sound off. What's something no one warned you guys about, and something that you would want your younger self to know before going into this? And it can be cliche, it can be crazy. I want to hear like everything, because I think we all come from different walks of life and come from different experiences, and we all started at different points. So I'm really interested to kind of hear how this journey affected everyone differently.
What would you say to your younger self?
Like before I wrote Joe,
based on this journey? Yeah.
I probably would just say, take care of yourself and make sure that you're still filling your own cup up, because I think I went into it being, like I said, a very empathetic, and I wanted to help and make Joe's life very comfortable. But I think a lot of me was not taking care of myself, because I'm like, no, I got this. Like my whole life has been me being like, oh, I got this. I don't need to focus or worry about myself. But like everything builds up. So I would just say, like, make sure I'm taking care of myself and not just trying to be like the fixer for everyone. What about you?
Mine would be, people are going to hate on you every day, and there's not a goddamn thing you can do about it, but just keeping you're stronger than you ever know. Like, you are Gigi. If I was talking to Gigi, I would say you are one of the strongest motherfuckers I've ever met in my entire life. I don't think anybody has the balls deep down that you have. That's what I would tell my younger self. And people are going to sit here and tell you should be in a mental institution. You're dumb. You're not smart. Every day I get that. Okay? Every day. If somebody tells me that. Some older man seems to want to tell me that every day. So, older white man, I should say. So, I'm just going to say this. You're a badass bitch. You're strong. And you've got balls that some of these men who hate on you every day and shit on you don't even have attached to their fucking body. Slay baddie.
Period.
That's what I would say.
Loves
myself.
it. Yep. That's it. That's all I got for that.
Okay. Well, I actually really love that. I felt like that was like a therapy session. Free therapy.
Loves it. We're taking care of ourselves.
I needed that. That was great. All right. Well, that means it's time for speaking of favorite man, our favorite man to give us a call, our favorite scammer, guys. Oh my gosh, it's the one, the only. He needs no introduction. Florida Fred.
Hello. This is a prepaid collect call from
Frederick,
an inmate at Florida Correctional Institution.
All right, guys, it's time for Florida Fred. We had 2 questions this week, so I wanted to go ahead and you want to get those started for us, Paige?
Yep.
They kind of go together, so I just kind of sent them to you.
So lovely Christina, she said, what do you do when you get trauma brain? And for people who don't know trauma brain, that's kind of, I feel like I would compare it to like kind of like PTSD in a way, where your brain goes back to a time and place where you experience trauma. It's a reaction, And it's a very common reaction for people who have been through trauma, and I can say I'm guilty of that. Whether I catch myself early enough or not, I can spiral just as bad as anyone. I feel like it's very, what I try to do is I check myself in the moment and I'm like, okay, like what's the reality of the situation versus what narrative is my head creating? You know what I mean? And I try to usually balance myself out like that. If sometimes my head isn't creating a narrative and I'm still like, I'm freaking out over the reality of the situation, I try to, deal with it as it is and remind myself that, I'm not in this period of time that my brain thinks I am, and that, situation and everything is different, and that, I'm not safe, because I feel like that's usually what your brain thinks. It's like radar, like I'm not safe. I'm going to do anything and everything I can to protect myself.
Yeah. And I actually experienced this at our last contact visit, where I had Mike was telling me about something that happened to him, and it triggered my trauma brain. And I went there, and I ended up holding it, and tried to push it down. And it's because when I'm in public, I don't like
Make a scene.
to make a scene or put that level of emotion out there for other people to see. So I shoved it down. But I told myself in a healthy way, you're going to deal with this later. And boy, did I. But I held it down, and I told Mike, and Mike's the best partner. I said, he saw me, and I said, I have to go to the bathroom. I just need to go take a walk, I need to get out of here. Like, cause that room is so small, and I felt like the walls were closing in. And I started feeling like I was going to spiral. So I said, okay, I'm going to go take a walk. So I went to the bathroom, changed my focus. That seemed to really help. And then I told myself, when I came back, I said, look, we can talk about it later. I'll deal with it later. But right now, I don't want to talk about this anymore. Let's move on, which we did. So that's how I helped cope with it. Now, when I left the prison, I was very emotional, and I let it all out. I cried in the car. I let it all go. And I talked to Mike about it that evening, after our visit to check in. And so we went through it. And so it was fine. After that, I was fine. But in that moment, I felt like this, like everything my world was just closing in. And I was just like, I need a minute to refocus. And I find refocusing does take your mind off of it. It helps you kind of shift the focus. Like, that's why they say sometimes hiking is good for people with anxiety, because it's like you start focusing on things around you versus what your mind is thinking about over and over again and spiraling.
Yeah, I think you kind of answered the second question with that. No, that's fine.
Oh,
The
my
second
bad.
question was, how
was
do you
the
tell
second
your
question?
man you're having a trauma brain without freaking him out?
I mean, you just tell him, like, look, this is triggering for me. I'm very honest. Like, I'll just say, like, this is triggering for me, and I want to hear what you have to say, but I just need a minute or whatever. Like, sometimes you just need to shift, like I said, just shift your focus from what being in that moment. And for me, I think in pictures. So I go back when I'm triggered, I see what happened in the past, and I see it vividly, like it's happening, in a movie right in front of my face. So it can be very overwhelming. So, that's just the way I cope with it. I don't know what works for everybody,
Fuck, what was I gonna say?
I'm sorry, I did that again. Oops, I did it again. I made you forget.
I forget. It's okay.
I'm sorry. I do that a lot. So that's my Roman
It's okay.
Empire.
It couldn't have been too important.
Okay. You sure? Because you said I answered the second question. That's what you said.
Let me read it again. Maybe it'll come back to me. What I was gonna say is, sometimes I will be straight up with Joseph when my brain is doing the over spiral thinking thing, and I'll be like, hey, my brain is in overdrive right now. And sometimes I'll be completely honest and tell him the crazy that my brain is going to and be like, hey, this is what my brain just did. And he'll be like, oh, okay. And then other times I'll be like, after the fact, like we'll process it and we'll go through everything, and then I'll just be completely transparent and be like, this is where my brain jumped to when we were having this discussion, just so he knows. And I think it kind of helps him understand me and the way my brain works a little bit more.
Yeah, and I know sometimes, because you've mentioned this to me, like when you're in this spiral moment where you're having trauma brain, you write everything down. What you want to say, what's going in your head, what you're feeling in the moment, and then you read it to him, and you're like, "This is where I was,"
And sometimes it is crazy,
And
so
yeah,
I never said I wasn't. You know what I'm saying?
takes a crazy
Yep,
bitch to do this
period.
shit. Tell you that. We embrace it, honeys. Crazy is powerful. Just saying.
Crazy is fun. I mean, everyone needs a little bit of crazy in them.
Yeah. Yeah. How boring the
Yeah,
world would be.
I only like weird people. So like, if everyone was normal, like I would have no interest in anything.
Yeah. It keeps life, the flavor of life, very nice, very interesting, very demure. Well, that's all I had, Paige. That's all we had for questions. Is there anything else
That's
you
all I
had?
got.
Okay, guys. Well, we love you. Thank you for getting us here to 78. And we'll be back next week with our first Prison Wife holiday storytelling series. I'm very excited about that. We've got some new ladies coming, so very excited to hear their stories of how they cope over the holidays. And just a shout out, I wanted to give a shout out to our wallers on In Love Within Walls, and our wallers that support the pod. We had our 12 days of Christmas recently, and we picked our
We
winners
had amazing
today,
participation in
and
the group. Everyone was really awesome. Like every day we had a different prompt, and we had a lot of participation. Even some new people or people that didn't even know anyone, and I love that. And it's what makes the group amazing.
Yeah, so thank you and shout out to y'all for making the 12 days of Christmas so awesome. I wish I could have, I was just so busy. I just wish I could have done a little bit more, but it was so nice. I did read what y'all said, and I loved some of y'all's answers to those questions. So shout out to our wallers for just being you and being amazing all the freaking time. Love you so
y'all.
much. So shout out. Shout out. Clock it, wallers.
This is for the ones who love through the distance, for the ones who stay solid while time keeps ticking, for the ones who hold it down but never lose themselves. This is for the prison wives. Still don't break, love don't fold. I'm still here, I'm still gold. Through the glass, through the gates, ain't no distance make me change. Still don't break, love don't fold. I hold strong, I don't go, I don't wait, I don't beg. I hold it down and lift my head. They don't see the late nights, letters on the table, fighting through the system, just trying to stay stable. They don't see the count days, they don't feel the time crawl. They just see the sentence, but they don't see the love at all. Yeah, I made the vow and I stand 10 toes. Still got my life, still got my goals. I hold it down cause I choose to stay. This love got walls, but it don't got chains. Don't break, love don't fold. I'm still here, I'm still gold. Through the glass, through the gates, ain't no distance make me change. Still don't break, love don't fold. I hold strong, I don't go, I don't wait, I don't beg. I hold it down and lift my head. I'm a prison wife, but I'm still my own. Made my own moves, still stand on my throne. They think I'm just sitting here wasting my days. Nah, baby, I've been building while he counting the days. I ride for my love, I ride for my king, but I ain't no fool, I handle my biz. I ain't weak, I ain't lost, I ain't throwing my worth. I hold it down cause I know what it's worth. Through the letters, through the calls, through the gates, through it all. Love don't break, love don't fade. I'm still here, I'm still still brave, still don't break, love don't fold. I'm still here, I'm still gold. Through the glass, through the gates, ain't no distance make me change. Still don't break, love don't fold. I hold strong, I don't go, I don't wait, I don't beg. I hold it down and lift my head.
Still don't break, love don't fold. I'm still here, I'm still gold. Through the glass, through the gates, ain't no distance make me change.
Still don't break.